Homie,
Hmm.
so I've been playing the new Spider-Man game.
You like it?
Huh?
You like it?
I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
Mm.
when there were those rumors that they were making a Black Cat and Silver Sable movie,
Yeah.
and people were like, "Who the fuck? Why?"
Right.
Man, I kind of would be down.
Yeah.
I'd be down for that.
They're hot, right?
They are best.
Mm.
So speaking of hot,
Yeah.
let's talk about the Flash. Ayo.
Ayo.
So, welcome to the Cine-Scoots podcast. We are here to discuss the latest and definitely not greatest DCEU movie, and the last,
R.I.P.
The Flash.
Latest and not greatest, but you know what? Better
Wait,
than
no, this
uh,
is not the
Blue
last.
Beetle is.
No, Blue Beetle is technically apparently DCU. I
Wow.
believe Aquaman is technically
They are.
DCEU.
So what's the old one called? DCEU.
DCEU,
What's the new one going to be called?
The DCU.
Okay.
No E.
No E.
No E.
So less potato sounding.
Less, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they were like, we clearly learned our lesson in
Yeah.
copying Marvel. So we're gonna copy their name.
Nice.
Yep, yep. Everything works out.
Everything came up Millhouse.
Everything came up Millhouse.
Yeah.
In this movie, Barry kind of tries to change the past. We basically have a another attempt at the Flashpoint comic book
So,
series ish.
so did it happen in the show?
Yes,
Okay.
it's season 2 or 3, I believe.
And is that the one with the Ezra Miller cameo?
No,
Okay.
no. Ezra Miller cameo is one of the last seasons.
Gotcha.
That's after I stopped watching. I think I got to season 5 and I was like, I think I'm good.
Yeah.
It's a good show, don't get me wrong. I honestly think if anybody is a really big, hardcore Flash fan,
Hmm.
you are significantly better off watching that show
Then you are
than
this.
you are watching
Here's the
this.
thing. I kind of went into this being very unimpressed by the trailers.
Hmm.
I went into this thinking I wouldn't like it. I liked it more than I thought I would.
I will say if like my letterbox is any indication,
Hmm.
like I still didn't rank it like super high, but I liked it.
Yeah.
Like I know that it's very flawed. I know there's a lot of things I don't like about it, but I had a good time, and honestly, that's sometimes what you just want.
There are things, dare I say, that I loved about it.
So
But yeah.
before we get into that,
Yeah.
we need to get rid of the how he said 180 pound elephant in the room.
Yes.
Ezra Miller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's all I'll say. I do wonder how much of like, because like pretty much everybody's like, yeah, Ezra Miller sucks,
Yeah.
right? And I do wonder if they weren't queer, if like, and they were just like some straight white guy. I do wonder if like you would get universal, like, fuck you, Ezra Miller. I don't know. Maybe you would.
Well,
Maybe you would not.
that's the thing. So one of the things that I've been thinking about is, for example, you and me are like chronically online on Facebook
Yeah.
and news. We talk about movies, so we kind of almost inherently look for things about movies to talk about.
Yeah.
So we know everything that's happening.
And
But
here's the thing.
how much of this does like
I like heard
the
everything that's
normie?
happening. I can't remember all the details of. I know like sexual abuse allegations. I know like they choke slammed people, right? Like
Apparently that one was apparently they were cleared
of the choke
from that.
slamming.
Yeah, from that one.
Yeah, which doesn't necessarily mean like but like I, and here's the thing, I'm not prepared with other examples of like people I can defend. Um, I don't know, Sean Penn, even though that was like a long time ago, right?
What did
But
Sean Penn do?
Sean Penn, didn't he beat up Madonna?
I don't fucking
Yeah.
remember. Jesus.
But like, I just wonder if, because like literally everybody's like, fuck Ezra Miller, right?
Yeah.
And like on the one hand, yeah, like fuck Ezra Miller, but I do wonder if like everybody would be like fuck Ezra Miller if they weren't queer.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't
Yeah,
know. Especially in today's climate.
especially in today's climate.
The so what I want to get out of the way
Yeah.
here with the Ezra Miller situation is like I understand if people don't want to support the movie because of the Ezra Miller situation. Like that to me makes sense.
Yeah.
If you're like, fuck this person, I don't think they should get even 20 cents of my ticket price. I'm not gonna go watch this movie. I understand.
And here's the thing, I also don't even think it's that difficult a decision, right? It's
It's
not
not
like I also understand if someone wanted to boycott Hogwarts Legacy, and I would feel like if someone did that, I would feel like, ooh, like that takes sacrifice because it's like a beloved brand, right? Like you wanted a
a
good,
genuinely good game.
yes, like you wanted this. Like we haven't wanted a fucking Flash movie in the same, right? In the same way we
You know
wanted,
what the crazy thing is?
yeah,
If this movie hadn't been delayed to hell,
yeah.
all of this would have come out
After,
significantly before the movie came out.
uh,
So like this movie was supposed to be scheduled for 2018.
yeah, yeah,
And all of this stuff with Ezra happened like
later,
late like 2020 maybe
right?
and on.
Because when the second poopy Harry Potter spin-off movie come out?
The second was like 2019,
Yeah,
I think. Because the third one was 2021, I think.
yeah. So like, I don't think people were shitting on Ezra Miller during
Not during the
Fantastic
second
Beasts.
one.
Yeah,
During the third one for sure, but not during the second one, I think.
yeah.
So
So
it would have been out if this would have probably flown a little bit more under the radar as far as like hate train goes.
right.
Um, but so here's my point that I'm trying to make is I think if someone wants to talk about this movie, yes, the Ezra Miller thing is an issue,
Hmm.
but I think if you are going to talk about the movie, talk about the movie.
Yeah,
Like if you're gonna come in tainted to talk about Ezra Miller and the situation that they're in, like you are then don't just at that point just don't.
so ironically, I'm gonna bring it back to Harry Potter just for a second.
Go for it.
Like, I think supporting J.K. Rowling is, in theory, doing more damage than supporting "quote unquote" Ezra Miller. Like Ezra Miller himself is just like an isolated piece of shit, right? Whereas J.K. Rowling has like, you know, she's in it with the Fox News crowd,
Oh, for sure.
right?
And also the fact that like she refuses to back down.
Yeah,
Whereas Ezra Miller has come out at least I don't know to what degree we can trust them,
right.
but they're like, hey, you know, I had a really bad, like, basically a psychotic break.
Yeah,
And judging by the things they were saying, yeah, I believe it that they were going through a weird psychotic, like, ego trip.
right. But
So who knows?
I don't think they really have the cultural capital that a lot of their peers do,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, yes, like I'm all fair with the boycott, but like I think this one to me is very easier to separate the art from.
And there's also the fact that there's a lot of other things involved here that you might want besides the Ezra Miller thing,
Yeah.
right? Because you know, in this movie, we bring back
I mean, this movie basically is a giant plot device.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
and I do think that there's a lot in this movie to like for
Yeah.
sure. I you know I've never been a huge Michael Keaton Batman fan, but I do think his character was used well.
I like Ezra Miller in this movie.
Ezra Miller,
I don't like them as like I would like a new Flash to not have
the
well,
weirdness of
yeah,
his
that Ezra
of
Miller,
Barry
right.
Allen.
Right. But I think for like if that's what Ezra Miller's playing, then like I think they do it. I like goofy ass Barry marching down the
Did I hate that so much? The Barry Allen run, and by the way, when we say he in this, we're talking about as not Ezra Miller,
Barry Allen.
Barry Allen,
Right.
right? In the universe,
Yeah.
Barry Allen is a straight white dude.
Yeah.
Uh, happens to be played by a you know
Non-binary. Right.
non-binary queer person,
Right.
right? But goofy ass
I love
run.
it.
I love that they poke fun at it in the
Yeah.
scene where he loses his powers.
Oh no, I'm not talking about his run. I'm talking about when he's in the other universe and like Barry number two walks in.
Oh
Like when
man,
he's like
he's
strutting down.
strutting down the street.
Yes, yeah. No, I think the run is stupid. I think Ezra Miller does a good job of playing two very different people.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's one thing that I will say from the beginning. I think Ezra Miller does a good job at.
right.
I'm playing this version of Barry Allen. Now, do I like this version of Barry Allen? No.
No.
It's a little too like on the nose of like he's probably on the spectrum.
Yeah.
And I think that that trope played by someone who's not on the spectrum, I think it feels almost a little weird.
Whereas, like, there's also a line in this movie about how he's also making wisecracks. And, like, I think he is.
No, they like to pretend like he's Spider-Man level of quips, but
Yeah.
he's not.
No.
By the way, so one of the things that happens in the movie at the very beginning is we have this scene where like he goes to Gotham City to help
Hmm.
Batman with like a crisis,
Hmm.
right? And everything, well, we can talk about it if you want a little bit, mainly because we kind of talk about the CGI in this.
Hmm.
But Wonder Woman shows up at the end of the scene.
Da-da-da-da!
Yeah. And
Second time this year.
second time this year,
Yeah.
way better, I think, in this one than in the last use of her.
A Redditor said it. I just kind of want this to happen during every movie. I don't need any other Wonder Woman movies. I just need one cameo per movie. Let the music blare.
Yeah, that's fair. You know, here's the thing. I like the song.
Song's
The
great.
theme is great,
Yeah.
but it's so jarring when it just comes out of nowhere. It stars you. Um, so the logistics of the lasso of truth is you just can't lie.
Right. You don't necessarily have to
You
spill
don't
your guts.
blurt out dumb shit,
Right.
right? Because I understood the first joke where she's like, "You're welcome, Bruce," and Batman's like, "My ego is too big for me to say
Yeah.
thank you to someone else." That makes sense
Yeah.
because he would usually say, "Okay,
Right.
whatever,"
Right.
but he's answering truthfully.
Yeah.
When Big touches that thing, he starts
Like blurts
talking
out
about
right
how
now.
he ain't never get laid, and like, who's asking you?
And there's actually a lot of weird. That one was not as random as like other examples here, but there's like random things that happen in this, like happen
Hmm.
in this movie. Like when that scene from the trailer where Michael Keaton says, "Let's go nuts," or "Let's get
Yeah,
nuts,"
I want to get
is
nuts.
straight up random.
You know why it's not random?
I mean, it's from the original
From the
movie.
original.
I know, but like in the context of the actual
Yep.
scene, zero.
No reason, no
Yeah,
reason for it. No one talks about like
right.
going doing something like maybe it's because they're doing something crazy
The scene where his, and I'm jumping, but like the scene where his tooth falls out like later,
at the end of the movie.
yes, comes at like the randomest time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard people kind of explain it away in a way that kind of makes sense. That like it's symbolic, quote unquote, for like things still being wrong.
Whatever. It's a bumpy movie.
It's
It's
dumb.
a bumpy
It's
movie. Yeah.
silly. So the inciting incident here is Barry kind of gets mad and goes back in time after he's frustrated that his dad is not able to get out of jail, which then circles back to the 2017, not 2017, sorry, 2021 Justice League.
Snyder Cut.
Yep, the Snyder Cut.
Which one is considered canon? I mean,
Yes.
spaghetti doesn't matter, but like, but
In the continuity of this movie itself,
yeah,
it's the Snyder Cut
that is
that
canon.
is canon.
Okay, all right,
Because the references that they made, there's two
because it
references that
was
are made.
the better one and still mediocre.
Yes. The
'Cause that's the only one where he runs back in time, right? He doesn't do
yes, he
that
does
in.
not run back in time in the other one.
Yeah.
That's one thing. And then the other thing is Iris recognizes him
Mm,
and she says, like, "Hey, I saw you recently." And he goes, "No, you didn't." And it's a scene where she is saved by Barry
mm,
from like a car crash in the middle of the street.
okay.
So there's that. Those are the only two things that connect it to
I'm gonna
that.
point to Snyder because I asked because the way the movie presents it, and even though the way it presents it, it almost presents it like he just kind of happened upon. He like accidentally just ran so fast because he was mad, and then
Yes.
like he accidentally like a time back, and I'm like, dang, that's an OP like that's an OP power to just
Stumble upon.
yeah,
I mean, but that is how it
in
happens
Flashpoint,
in
yeah,
Flashpoint. Something happens, I think, similarly, where he gets frustrated. He's like, "I'm just gonna run,"
yeah,
and he just runs and runs and runs and runs so fast that
That
He just goes into the Speed
yeah.
Force. He doesn't just like use it to like do his thing, but he like kind
Right.
of almost becomes one with it. Um, which so let's the CGI on this, a lot of the worst I will say is in the Speed Force stuff,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Where he's running super fast. I get it when something is supposed to look like it's standing still,
It could look goofy.
it's gonna look goofy. I get it. Anything that happens in the Chronodrome, which I think is a silly fucking name,
The
the
Chronodrome.
Chronodome. When anything like that, I'm like, okay, fine. Let's pretend that everything's supposed to look like almost
Silly.
like a dummy,
Yeah,
right? Like a statue.
right.
Fair.
Which DC aesthetic likes. I feel, yeah, even
Yes.
from like the Justice League cartoon, like DC likes its like statue imagery.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I kind of wish they would have done it in like a marble
Yeah.
look.
Yeah.
Because then you can be like, yeah, they're statues.
Right.
Maybe the statues move,
Yeah.
but because they look like they're trying to make them look photorealistic with color, it just looks so jarring.
Yeah, it looks bad.
And maybe you can try to explain it away by saying, well, it's because it looks silly in the Speed Force, but it just looks bad. The hospital scene,
I have to talk about this
holy shit.
because I'm gonna get to the CGI there. The hospital scene is actually maybe one of my top five superhero opening
It's cool.
sequences ever. Like I'm like that to me and like Doctor Strange 2 are like, ooh, like I love both of these. I love the idea of A saving babies, because like ironically, like you haven't like you've seen a lot of saving people, maybe some saving children, but like saving
It's
babies,
the fact that
yeah,
you're eating babies into
yeah.
like
In
batches of
microwaves, yeah,
acid and scalpels, like the stakes are
yeah.
infinitely high,
Yes.
right?
It's really cool. But
It's one of those things where like if you read this, like if you're looking at the script, you go, "This is gonna be a bomb scene,"
yeah.
but then you look at it,
So it's not that they just don't look realistic. At first I was like, they look like toys, but then it wasn't even they look like the fucking CPR baby dummy. That's what their faces look like.
it's so
It's so bad.
it's so bad. I've never seen a movie be this expensive and look so bad.
Like, and we've had, especially with MCU stuff, like we've had a lot of talk about CGI and like people pointing out what they perceive as bad CGI, which I was like fair. So when I heard buzz about this movie CGI, I'm like, all right,
It can't be
like,
that bad, right?
and then I saw it, I'm like, oh,
It is that
this
bad.
is bad.
It's one of those things where it doesn't just approach
Yeah.
Uncanny Valley. This is you are deep in this Uncanny Valley.
So a Batman fans on Reddit are going to get to masturbate because they finally saw Batman in his blue cape, which they've been like, but
Say this is probably this has some of the better like Batman sequences in a while.
it does. But when his cape is like fluttering in the wind,
Yeah.
remember like the old action figures that like when you would get a character with a cape, you would get a plastic cape. You wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
get like a fabric cape.
Yep.
It looks like they got a plastic cape. Flutter.
And
Yeah.
that has
Supergirl's
been
suit. Yeah.
that's been historically an issue with DC. Not as much with Marvel. I know Marvel does have issues with it a bit, especially with like Doctor Strange because the cape itself is sentient.
Right.
So like
Doesn't look
it doesn't
plastic.
behave the same way, but
Yeah.
it doesn't look exactly it
Yeah.
doesn't look plastic. But if you go back and think about everything in the Snyder
Hmm.
movies, all his capes are fake
Mm.
and they look fake,
Mm.
which is the problem.
Yeah.
So I know by now we're kind of used to it. I saw that and I was like, yeah, that's not the worst thing happening in this movie
Right.
by a mile.
Right. But it just looks so bad.
It looks so bad. I will say the scene with the babies though,
I love it.
I love the way that he goes for the baby, but he's like, nah, fuck this baby vending machine because he needs I like that. I kind of wish
I
that
like
was
the
brought up
calorie counter.
more.
Is that in? All right. So I have to call out. I have to call out our boy Cosmonaut. Let's pretend we're peers with these actual.
Sure.
Yeah. So like he in his
Our good friend Marcus
yeah,
once
yeah.
said,
He said, "Oh, when we've seen him in all these other movies," I'm like, "What? All these other movies? We've
yeah,
seen him
in
in two versions of the same movie. Like
it's
that's it."
essentially one.
Yeah. Is there? Is this the first time we've seen like the little calorie counter on the thing, or the fact that like he needs calories to like
I think there's some mention in the 2014 or in the Snyder cut that he just needs a lot of food,
yeah.
but it's because it's a whole ensemble movie. You don't really focus on like the minute details of like each single character.
I really love that. I don't know to what extent it's in the comics or not. I mean, it's certainly not in the it's certainly not in like the Cartoon Network cartoon,
It's brought
right?
up in the show a couple of times where he's like, I'm running
The
out of
live action
energy in the
show.
live action show,
Yeah,
yeah, where he says like I need to figure something out, and his friend who works with him at Star Labs
yeah.
basically comes up with like energy bars for him that he just gets to pop and
Hop in.
forget about the rest of the day.
Anyway, I like if when this character comes back, I kind of would like that. Like I like the nerfing from the food.
Yeah,
Because like Flash can be very OP,
100%.
right?
It's the same reason why Quicksilver in the X-Men movies shows up for a scene and then fucks off.
Yeah,
Because if you have him,
yeah,
you're done. Like
yeah,
there's no stakes anymore.
right. So I like this. That's the thing. There's a lot that this movie does that I really, really like.
It's a lot of small
Yeah,
character details
yeah,
that I think they did a great job at incorporating. It's a lot of the like big grand ideas that I think kind of fall a little flat
yeah,
in this movie.
yeah.
We can talk more about the whole multiverse stuff
And there's
later
something in there
on.
that I really like.
There's some stuff in there.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the calorie thing, I like how, he's like starting to speed up a
Hmm.
bit, but then when he gets the food, everything
Yeah.
freezes. And I do like the explanation because I remember watching the movie. I was like, why doesn't he just pick up the babies? Because that's always been a thing where he just grabs someone and just yoinks, let's
Right.
go. But he does explain that he can't move people
Mm.
because essentially you just rip people apart.
Yeah. A
Essentially,
train.
like A Train,
Yeah.
right? I like that explanation. And I know in some of the other like comics and stuff, it's like he is able to use the Speed Force to then protect himself and other people that he's carrying.
Right.
But I do like that limitation in this.
Yeah.
It explains why he has to do all these things, how he's able to kind of like poke them and like kind of change the trajectory, but
Yeah.
he cannot take
He
this
like
thing like 50 feet.
right.
Um, was it in this movie where he throws up, or was that a different movie?
I think
Did I miss that?
I don't remember if he throws up. Because in the next movie we review, someone does throw up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a
I
scene where
think he
like,
does throw up.
right? I think
Yeah.
I may have. I think I saw the
I
first
think
time. I think I may have gone to the bathroom the second
I
time.
think Barry too. I think Barry 2018 throws up.
Does he?
I think so.
Hmm,
Yeah. And the Batcave. I don't remember.
maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I do like those things when he does go back. So he gets the idea to change things in the past.
Yeah.
When he does that, I like the explanation that not only does it change stuff in the future, because you are now in an entirely different strand
Spaghetti.
in a different noodle.
Yeah.
Ideally speaking, the past is also now different
Right.
because you are in a literal different universe where
Yeah.
things were completely different.
Time is not linear.
Exactly.
I love the spaghetti metaphor as a means of like teaching the audience what the rules are
It's very
going
simple. I
forward.
think it's
Yeah.
very easy to understand.
We can keep consistent whatever we want to keep consistent. We can change whatever we want to
They
change.
gave themselves so
Yeah.
many outs with that.
Exactly.
Very smart.
Very understandable. Like
Yes.
yeah, like props to them for making DC made like the most understandable rules for like multiverse
Yeah.
shit
Yeah.
out of Marvel and anything else that's been doing it. So
Hmm.
good for you.
Katie did call. I'll have to ask her what it was. She did say that she did point at something out that I was like, huh, that does not make sense. But then I'm a big fan of the franchise Fate,
Mm,
which is a whole mumbo jumbo of like heroes fighting heroes
yeah.
and people fighting for like magic. And one of the things that there's always a joke about, it's like when something doesn't make sense, just say the magic words, don't worry about it.
Right.
And I'm like, this,
Yep.
I'm like, babe, don't worry about it.
Yep.
It's time stuff.
Yeah.
If it doesn't make sense, who cares?
Yep.
We're still here to have fun.
Time is spaghetti.
Time is spaghetti.
Yeah.
I do like though that they say that there are some things that are inevitable. Some
Yes.
things are always going to happen in either certain timelines or just in general.
Which once again is interesting how this comes out right on the heels of Spider Verse,
Yes.
which has that same idea as like a focal point of its like plot and themes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we'll see where that leads in
Yeah.
Spider-Verse because that is a couple of very interesting like theories
Hmm.
coming out about it. I know you sent me the video from
Film
Film
theorists.
Theorist.
Yeah.
I did see that too. Um, but I do like the idea that just like in Marvel, right? There are some things that are always constant. Like who was it? There were some characters that are always the same.
Mm.
Apparently, like Scarlet Witch is like a
A
nexus.
nexus being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, in this case, like apparently Barry Allen is always going to be a Barry Allen, and um,
Well,
Aquaman is always going to be the same Aquaman.
well,
But I don't know to what extent they want to cement themselves in this.
because the ending stupid scene does show old flashes with like the Hermes hat.
But that's a different person,
That's
though.
not Barry Allen.
That's not Barry Allen. That's Jay Garrick.
Gotcha.
I
Gotcha.
know some shit.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's the
Is
difference.
animated Justice League Wally West?
I think he shows up, but I don't think it's always Wally West.
Yeah.
I think it's Barry Allen.
Gotcha.
I can't remember 100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole idea of now the past is changed leads then to the new, well, not new, the old Batman coming
Hmm.
in, right? Um I like how goofy he looks with his like hobo like attire.
It is very I forget if in because in Dark Knight Returns you do see him dressed as an old woman. I forget. I think there's been some comic or movie where you've seen Bruce Wayne with the long hair and the beard.
In Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, but I
He's
feel like
kind of
it
disheveled,
right.
the Banshee's kind of gone to shit.
But I feel like I've seen it in a cartoon.
Oh,
Anyway,
probably.
yeah.
Um, they kind of hatch a plan to go save
Save Superman.
Superman because Zod is here.
Yeah.
Oh, we totally skipped about the part that Barry loses his powers because he tries to get other Barry
To
his
get powers,
powers,
right.
and
And
yeah,
shenanigans.
shenanigans.
Right.
Um, my God, old Barry is so fucking grating. Well, younger Barry is
Yeah.
grating. I like that older Barry recognizes, like, holy shit, I am annoying. I am
Well,
obnoxious.
it's interesting because you can tell that like one has had, childhood trauma and one is
One has
and one
essentially
has not.
been living here rent free.
Which the interesting thing is if you look at this is very mean. The kid who plays like young Barry Allen, very sorry, just looks like a very bullyable kid.
Oh,
Like I feel
100%.
like if we went to elementary school, like if we went to elementary school with this kid, like people would hate this fucking kid. Like
I'm going to say something that I know I can say because no one ever really listens to us outside of like maybe a few close friends.
are millions of fans.
I have a few kids who look exactly like this kid, and they've been bullied.
Oh, so sad,
Yep.
so sad. So I can see, absent absent the loss of a parent, how that little kid Barry Allen would grow up into.
Absent of both
Yeah.
parents.
No, no, no. So how? Yeah, absent of losing both parents. So
Yeah.
in a normal life, I can see how that little kid Barry Allen would grow up into like
Into a fucking just spaz.
ex little kid Barry Allen is at least portrayed as being very book smart.
Hmm.
And like I do not see how like I'm seeing this Barry Allen is all Mountain Dew and Doritos. And things can change. Like
The 2018 Barry Allen?
2018 Barry Allen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Does not seem like
and
he was ever good at math.
that's the thing. I kind of would have liked there to have been a little explanation as to like how his life panned out
Yeah.
because all we know is he's going on a date
Hmm.
and he's in college freshman year
Yeah.
and he's in econ
He's an econ, which doesn't mean
and
shit.
doesn't mean a
Yeah.
damn thing.
Yeah.
So you don't know if he's still smart
Right. His
and
roommates are certainly dumb.
his roommates are certainly very stupid.
Yeah.
Holy shit. That did bug me a lot. And I think it's also a matter of my a lot of my flash information comes from the Justice League show
Yeah.
and from the the CW show where he has friends,
Yeah.
whether it's people in the Justice League
Right.
or in the CW show he has Cisco and I forget the girl's name.
Yeah.
Um, but like he's got really like good friends who like him.
Right.
Everybody here except for Iris fucking sucks.
Yeah.
His boss sucks. The
The
barista
barista
sucks.
sucks.
The
His
two
work
people,
his work
his work
friends
friends
who are not
suck.
his friends, yeah.
Dude, like it's just like this poor guy.
Yeah.
Give him a friend.
Give him a friend.
Like, yeah, maybe you can have a friend who like busts your shit because you're always late. That's fine. Like when they first like start like ripping on them for being late again.
Right, but these two people are just straight up
But then
bullies.
these people like when they walk out and they're like, "Hey, let's get out of here."
I mean, it's kind of odd how they're introduced as like characters, and then you don't see them again after that, and like you're probably never gonna see them again.
They're the ones they're the roommates.
They are the roommates,
Yes.
but like it's it is odd that they're just kind of introduced that way, and then it's like, all right, like
Yeah.
here's our characterization into Barry, and
And boom.
that's
And
it.
like I get that this Barry Allen is like very socially awkward, like very spectrumy. I get that, but holy shit, these people are just mean.
Yeah,
I don't know. I did not like those two characters. Nothing against the actors. I'm assuming that's exactly how they were
told to act.
told to
Yeah.
act. But Albert and Patty,
Mm,
that's their names.
what names?
What
What
names?
names?
Um, Interesting that they decided to make Barry King's Beaner.
Hmm?
They made like his mom like Spaniard,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, very
which
interesting because
very interesting.
he just seems the epitome of white, and
Yep.
obviously like Spaniards. And here I'm only assuming that she is Spaniard and not anything else because of how white because of how white.
The song had like that like lispy Spaniard dialect
And she's
almost,
cooking pasta,
which
which
is very
initially made me think
European
Italian, but then I'm like, oh, she's specifically singing Spanish.
Spanish.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
weird.
Not that Latin Americans can't cook pasta, but it seemed like pasta had ethnic roots in
Yeah, there
the
ain't no Mexican or any island Mexican making fresh pasta.
no arroz.
Arroz or
Arroz?
nothing.
Yeah,
Arroz and frijoles.
yeah.
Um, so by the way, so we have this assault in on Russian base, which I think is very cool. It's a cool introduction to Batman
What a great
using
segue. Pasta to the Russian.
yes.
Yes.
I don't like the way they made Batman look like he was fighting in this.
Hmm.
He looks too like fluid
Hmm.
for a man in his 70s.
Okay.
And it just I kind of would have liked this to be like, well, if Batman is still Batmaning in his 70s, I would assume he's able to like do it tactically for his age.
In Dark Knight Returns, he's still like
Not in the 70s.
I mean, in that movie or in the animated movie, he fucking looks like he's
Oh,
not Dark Knight Rises, like the animated Dark Knight
gotcha, gotcha.
Returns. I mean, he's fucking old, right?
He's old,
And he's
but
still
he's the only reason why he's able to kind of put up a fight is because he's got the big ass bulky suit.
not in part one. Part two is the suit. Part two is where he fucks with Superman. But in part one, no
I
suit.
see what you
Yeah,
mean.
I think he just gets back in shape.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe,
yeah,
maybe. But again, that's cartoon,
right.
and then this just looks like a rubber man
But he
flying
in
around.
cartoon at least is like he fights like Ben Affleck Batman
Ben
in
Affleck
cartoon.
fights like a tank.
That's how he fights in Dark Knight Returns, where he's fucking old as
Yes.
shit. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, we don't find Batman. We instead find a hottie.
We don't find Superman.
We don't find Superman.
Yes,
Yeah.
which someone else pointed it out, but I also thought it in the theater. What a sad, like very sad for Supergirl.
Dude.
Like her cousin's dead as a baby.
Yeah.
She, I guess, is fated to just get like harvested for blood
In this
in this particular
particular
timeline,
timeline.
right? But that's, I mean, it's kind of, and I, on the one hand, I thought it was like bold, but on the other hand, I didn't like it. I was like, oh man, like I really like this character, and like in this particular timeline, she's just like
Just always destined to die.
destined to suffer. Yeah.
And I mean, I guess in a way that's kind of the thing about multiverse like ideas where there is always going to be a timeline
Hmm.
where a character is just destined to die or
Yeah.
destined to just get shit on. It could be anybody. It could have been Barry.
Right.
I mean, it is Batman, right? Batman in all of those movies dies too. In all of those
Timelines. Yeah.
instances
Yeah.
dies. Um, I think the one that sucks the most is Barry's mom because if she survives,
Yeah.
it leads to inevitable doom,
Right.
right? So I get that idea. It's fine. It's whatever. Um, I do like the action scene that happens after that.
Mm.
Like once they're actually fighting Zod's army,
Hmm.
I think that's more interesting. The fight scene that happens with Supergirl and Batman on the roof of like the Soviet base
Yeah.
again just looks very rubbery.
Yes.
Everything just looks like
Plastic.
plastic,
Right.
and that's not in the Speed Force. That's not in the Speed Force at
Yeah.
all. Um, Barry does make a comment. He's like, I guess you guys could have seen that in slow motion like I did.
Right.
And I wonder if that's the cop out of saying like, well, this is how he sees it.
No, it just looks
Stupid.
like poo poo.
It looks like poo
They
poo.
did they did make I really love this Supergirl character, despite how tragic she is.
Hmm.
Um I really want to see more of her. I like this actress.
Yep,
Yeah.
I did read recently an article from I think Variety or Hollywood Reporter that she's in talks to return
Yeah.
with like DC heads. So I hope she's back because I do like the idea of having a Supergirl.
Hmm.
I know we're having a Superman
Hmm.
movie. I wonder then how that changes her characterization a bit.
I do wonder, this is talking big picture stuff. You know how like Big Guardian's complaint is like, you introduce Adam Warlock and then you don't see him for like, however many
Years,
years,
yeah.
but then that's pandemic related too. And then he's not the main villain. I do wonder with where DC's trying to jump in and the fact that James Gunn's also involved. I wonder how much of that you'll also see in this new DC iteration where you'll set up threads and you'll set up teasers and then like they might not come to fruition for whatever reason.
I see
Yeah.
what you
So
mean.
like for Supergirl, like I do wonder because you're right, they're making a Superman movie, right?
And they are making a Supergirl movie.
Mm.
So that's already in development. It's going to be one of the first like DCU
Have they picked an actress?
movies. Not yet.
Mm.
That's why I think she's in talks with
Talks
it.
with it. Yeah.
So and if I remember correctly, like this storyline that they're following is called the Woman of Tomorrow storyline.
Mm.
It's from like not long ago. I want to say like maybe 2 3 years that it came out.
Oh wow.
And from what I hear, it's also very like just Supergirl just getting shit on
Oof.
and like shit being rough.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of then tracks for like this
This
version of the
version, yeah.
character, and I think she can play that very well. Um, so if they do decide to go with her, I think that she fits in there like very well.
Perfectly. Right.
I would like her to come back. I think she does a good job. She looks fantastic in that suit.
Hmm.
I know that like skin tight suits are always very like hard to pull off because
Right.
a lot of times they have to be like augmented with like
You know.
muscle pads and
Right.
CG.
No, she looks great.
She looks fantastic. Um, I do want her to come back for sure. Sees.
Same.
Um, I don't think we needed to have Michael Shannon back as General Zod.
Yeah, that's
It
all.
literally could have been anything.
I think it's literally only here because that was the first DCEU movie,
Yes,
and they're doing it for symmetry purposes.
I just realized this changes a lot now that I'm thinking about it.
Mm.
Because that was 2018, Barry, right?
Yep, that was 2013. In the, I mean, Man of Steel comes out in 2013, but I think that
2013.
also takes place in 2013.
That was my
Yeah,
interpretation. So what happened here?
yeah.
Does that mean that
Spaghetti. I
the
don't know.
events got shifted
I
in
guess
this timeline?
spaghetti.
Interesting.
Spaghetti.
Interesting.
Yeah,
But that doesn't make sense.
it doesn't make sense as to why it doesn't.
No, because Barry got his powers the same year as the other Barry did
In 2018,
in 2018.
it's always 2018 when he gets his powers.
But because he knows the date, he knows the date that it
Right.
happens. He says it's happening today.
Yes.
So, but then he says that he got his powers a little bit before Zod arrived.
I
So
think he
it
just.
can't be
I don't know if he
2018
just gets it before Zod arrived. I think those events are just juxtaposed
to be
on
right.
the screen, so your brain might just put them together as causal. But I think he specifically just says this was the night of the storm. I don't think he says it's specifically a Zod related storm or around Zod.
That still doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense. Oh, but then
Spaghetti,
no,
but
but then he
damn,
did. But then he did go rescue people, or he did try to go rescue
he tried to go
people.
rescue
So
people.
yeah, you're right. Yeah, yeah,
That's fucked.
yes.
It doesn't make sense. Whatever.
Whatever.
It's one of
Yeah,
those things that
they were.
don't worry about
Yeah,
it.
they were bad movies. This is still an okay movie only. Right.
Yes. The thing that I found very odd, well, not very odd, but I not I didn't love the fact that this like I don't know if it's supposed to be like a take on Zoom or a take on Reverse Flash,
Mm,
but like 2018 Barry
becomes the monster that's
becoming the
in the
monster.
Chronodome.
Yes. I have to look this up. When does the Flash take place? Because so it takes place in. I hate this.
Hmm,
I hate this
hmm.
because he's not 38. He could not be 10 years in the past
I don't know. Fucking no. Yeah. 38. He wouldn't be.
because he's
Hey,
18,
yeah. So it would be
right?
28, not 38. Spaghetti. Spaghetti.
That's what I'm saying. If he was 18 in 2013
Okay.
and then 2023,
He should be
28,
28.
sorry,
28.
28.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense. Anyway, whatever. Um, I lost track of what I was gonna say. Um,
We are moving on to the final. Yeah.
but there was a thing that I was saying, and I am totally blinking. Oh yeah. The Flash, the other Flash, kind of
Oh,
turning
right.
bad. I like how it starts to show that it's him when they're like facing through like the explosion, and
Yes.
he gets
He's
the
gradually picking up like
yeah, he gets
yeah,
the Kryptonian like steel like embedded in his arm.
right.
Um,
And I like the symbolism is like, oh, because because this version of him is like rooted in like changing the past. That's what leads to him becoming evil. Like I think thematically that works.
it's the immaturity too.
Yeah.
The fact that he does not know how to cope with losing
With
someone
loss.
he
Right.
cares
Yeah.
about,
Right.
that just kind of drives him nuts.
Yeah.
I do like the idea that he recognizes that in himself
Yes.
because
He's had
he has
maturity.
new
Right.
well now he has the new Barry or the old Barry to help him through it.
And some people level this as a criticism of the movie, which I think it's fair. I think if you take this theme too far, it can get into like trauma fetishizing, where it's like, like you need trauma in order to um in order to have maturity and like unless you have trauma, right, you will just never develop and blah 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 blah. I don't think the movie is saying that, although it might be. But I do think there's something to be said about the fact that there's a difference between trauma and hardship. There's a difference between trauma and stress, right?
Hmm.
You need stress and you do need some hardship in life, right? Because otherwise you just think that like going to go tour the Titanic is a
It's a
good
good idea.
idea.
By the
Honestly,
way,
very,
I think they're
yeah.
officially
Yeah,
out of time.
I actually think this is very sad. Like on the one, I simultaneously think this is very sad and that it was a very stupid idea.
I think it's
I think it's very stupid to name the boat Titan. That's going to go see the Titanic. But I mean, it's a horrible way to die.
all I'm gonna say on this matter is if they were going to die, I I pray to whatever God they worship
Mhm.
that they imploded and they did not have to sit there for 96 hours.
The
That's best case scenario. If you're going to die, I would rather just be
instant,
you
yeah,
implode
yeah.
than you slowly starve for 96 hours.
I'm not gonna get into that, but like, yeah. Ironically, that it's weird that this came up, but like the I guess all I would say is I do feel both. I do feel like yes, it's stupid
Oh,
to
100%
do
stupid.
this, but like, damn, that's an awful way to go. Right?
I would not want that the fear if you're alive down there for 96 hours.
Yeah,
It's fuck.
yeah, that's hard.
Yeah.
That's hard. So we
Anyway,
get back
back to
to
the Flash.
pointless comic book shit. Um, but I do, but like people because it's being compared to Spider Verse, right?
Yeah,
I do think Spider Verse is tackling the more interesting question, and it still has a third movie to like,
to
to
bungle
stick the
it
landing, right? So we haven't seen what the final product looks like yet. I think the idea of like you don't have to be what the canon says is a more compelling idea than some things are just fate, deal with it.
inevitable. Yeah,
And yet I do think both truths are necessary.
yeah,
I do think that like there is an inevitability of suffering in the world, so then our choice is how do we deal with that suffering. I don't think this movie like I don't think this movie actually takes it along the theme of like, now what do we do with our suffering? I just think it kind of sticks at like some things are meant to happen, right?
yeah,
um, so I think Spider Verse is the more interesting project. But I think I've seen like some people just like totally shit on this movie for like being fatalist, and I don't think that's
fair.
entirely fair.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah,
I mean, there's something to it. That does kind of feel a bit tragic
yeah,
about like the
right.
inevitability of everything. But I mean, in a way, I also then wonder. So you were saying like, do you need trauma and hardships to mature? What if this just means that Barry's parents were kind of shitty parents?
Well, I mean that's the question. We know the thing where this can get problematic is we do statistically, people who have supportive households, right, tend to do better than people who do not,
Yeah.
right? It's not always set in stone, right? Um, but like, if I have two parents, regardless of like, what kind of two parent, like, not regardless of what kind of parents in terms of quality, but like, doesn't matter if it's a man and man, woman and woman, right? Like, married or just two people cohabitating for their whole life, right?
Yeah.
If I have two parents, right? Statistically, like I'm probably going to do better in life than people who just had like the one,
The one or
right?
none.
Right. And when we trauma fetishize, sometimes like ironically that empowers like I'll use shorthand, that empowers the Republicans of the world to be like, you need this, you just need to pull yourself on your bootstraps. So like, no, that's not true. Like we can provide people with advantages that they don't have, and it
Hmm.
will make them better.
Yeah.
But right, like, I am convinced that so I student taught at a high school, right? I applied for a job at that high school. I thought I was a shoe-in. Like I didn't get that job. And I felt like very self-conscious about that, like from that moment on, right? Um, I do feel like if I ended up like getting that job, that would have taught me like a lesson that like life is just going to like give itself to me. And I won't really have to like work for anything.
Yeah.
Right. So I do, you know, psychologically, like if we're using strict defining terms, like if like trauma is a hurtful thing, right? So like an abundance of trauma is not necessarily good, but like you do need stress and you do need adversity in life. Because otherwise you just kind of look like stupid Barry Allen, just like moseying.
Yeah.
And in any case, maybe that's why the movie is smart. Maybe he did have a super fucking easy life. Just like didn't bother to try with math.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
So before we wrap up,
Yep.
let's talk about the worst probably offender as far as the CG
Yeah.
goes here. End of the movie, everything is kind of collapsing in on itself. We are introduced to like how the Chronodome
This is
looks.
the most offensive part of the movie.
Yes,
Yeah.
and how all of the other universes are kind of like circling around each other,
Right.
right? And as Barry's universe is imploding, it's sucking in all the other ones and destroying them.
Yeah.
And this is where we get flashes, pun
Yeah.
intended,
Yeah.
of other universes. We
Yeah.
get snippets of the Adam West
Right.
Batman. We get snippets of the George Reeves and
I mean Christopher Reeves.
Christopher Reeves Batman.
Superman.
Supergirl is there.
Right.
We get
We
the
get
goat,
the goat.
the goat
Nick Cage. Yeah.
Nick Cage as Superman fighting a giant spider.
For too long.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Again, it almost feels like the CG is so bad that in a way I am almost forced to believe that they are right that it was done on purpose.
Did they made the CG this poo poo on purpose?
Because Nick Cage does not look
Right.
so old
Yeah.
that you can't just maybe put on some makeup
Right.
and make him look a little younger.
Yeah.
Because that scene of him as Superman and then it closes it on his face. Holy shit,
Looks
dude.
awful.
He looks like a toy.
I was mad when like we talked about this in person. People talk about how like Marvel like will undercut serious moments with a joke. I thought the worst offender of any of this ever in superhero dumb was when I forget what's happening. Something serious is happening. And then after the Nick Cage spider cut, it like cuts to him. Just like looking.
Yes.
And I'm like, there's no reason to like cut to Nick Cage Superman here. And like anytime you're just gonna see Nick Cage, it's inherently goofy.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, so the reason why they're staring into the camera is because they're looking into the rips happening in the
But
universe.
it doesn't have to be him. That's the thing.
Yes. Yeah.
There's 1,000 more relevant options that you could do than making it like the jokiest, memeiest
Yeah.
one.
And I mean that's very much like on the nose of like look what we have here.
Yeah. Look at all our
It's
IP.
it's weirdly ghoulish too.
It's not even look at all our IP. It's like, oh, we have IP too, right?
It's so odd, like
Yeah.
seeing these dead people,
Yeah.
like being rubberized for what?
And it also makes you. So I've never seen Christopher Reeve Superman movie.
Okay.
Um, right. I think many people my age have. I would guess that many people my age haven't. But as this target audience continues to skew like younger and younger,
So yeah,
I feel
how
like
many
a lot of
people?
these references are not like,
No.
yeah,
And same thing with the Superman thing.
yeah,
I can guarantee you so many people had no idea that Nick Cage was supposed to be
Superman,
Superman.
right? Because it
I can
never happened,
It
right?
never
Yeah,
happened. It was a concept. Tim Burton was supposed to make the movie.
yeah,
It fell apart in very early stages.
yeah,
I think the most we have out of it is a single image
right.
of Nick Cage, which is what this
Looking
whole thing is based on.
goofy AF.
Uh,
Yeah,
Apparently, the producer of the movie, one of his stipulations was in the third act,
hit
Superman fights a
the
giant
giant spider,
spider,
right? Yeah.
and that's what this joke is.
Was that Kevin Smith? Isn't Kevin Smith
Kevin
associated?
Smith is the one who told the story about it.
I see.
The producer was the guy who produced Wild Wild West,
Okay.
and it's just like it's a big pile of like why,
Yeah.
like it's unnecessary, and then also like
It's more Y-ish than like Save Martha,
nah,
right?
yeah,
Like people were offended at that. I think this is much more offensive.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I also don't like the. I know we've brought it up a lot, or I brought it up a lot. It's also so weird that like there is zero recognition for the show, which is what I think revitalized a lot of people's interest
Yeah.
in DC in recent years.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. Yes, I like Man of Steel.
Right.
I like it a lot.
I thought it was okay. But anyway,
Well,
continue.
I'm saying like
Yeah.
personally, I like it a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
But the DCEU has been such a fucking mess.
Yeah.
That's not why I like DC characters. It's
Right.
because of shows like Arrow, The Flash, Supergirl, even Superman and Lois,
Yeah.
uh, Legends of Tomorrow. Like all,
Smallville. I've never seen
I mean,
Smallville, but yeah.
even Smallville.
Yeah.
Like that, Katie used to watch Smallville,
Yeah.
and she doesn't watch comic book things.
Right.
So like the fact that like there was a complete shunning of
Of all that.
this, which is what is making these younger people go out and watch these things in the first place,
Hmm.
just seems very disrespectful
Yeah.
and weird. And I know this was not James Gunn's doing.
Right.
This is like the previous like regime that was there.
Yeah.
Um, but goddamn, like it's just odd. Um, After this, Barry sacrifices himself. Or old young Barry sacrifices himself because he knows that he's going to become this
Monster.
force, this
Right.
monster, right? That kind of sets everything back in motion.
Yeah.
We had a really genuinely, I
I
think,
love supermarket scene.
it's a genuinely
Yeah.
touching scene that's extremely sad. I
Yeah.
know some people were like, I don't know that I could connect to it because I know the Barry or the Ezra Miller situation. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
He did a great job in this. You can feel like the internal conflict of fuck, I have to sacrifice
My mom.
my mom,
Yeah. Forever.
which damn,
And I like that he was able to get away with saving his dad. I think Barry Allen deserves that reward. I think after all this, he deserves to be able to come away with at least
something,
one
yeah,
parent. Yeah.
yeah. I know in like how it usually happens is a little different. They do manage to clear his name without him having to go back and
Hmm.
change things. Um, I don't know that because then the problem is, I think this is all undone if I'm not mistaken, by the conversation he has at the end of the movie
Oh, I don't know specifically how that works. Like, you mean the conversation with Aquaman?
with Aquaman. Because so at the end of the movie they clear his dad's name.
Right.
He says something along the lines of, oh no, so he cleared the name, and then Bruce shows up, but
Right.
it's not.
With George Clooney.
Yeah, it's not Ben Affleck, it's not Michael Keaton,
Right.
it's George Clooney, which ha 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 ha.
Right.
Whatever.
I saw an idea where they should have taken. different. Like they should have shown different versions of the film in different theaters
That
and just put like different Batman
would
actors.
have been fun.
Yeah,
I know, like when they were doing screenings for like test audiences, they did have different roles. Some people saw Batman, some people saw Robert
or Benson,
Pattinson, some people saw George Clooney. I think there was rumors of why am I blanking on his name?
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale. There were
The
rumors of doing that.
yeah,
Um, some of them there was no Batman.
yeah.
Some of them was like his foot, and that's it.
Hmm.
There were some where it was Michael Keaton,
Hmm.
and then Supergirl shows up too.
Hmm.
Um, that apparently was supposed to be the lead into the Batgirl movie,
Yeah.
because then it shows that he's staying. Even if they scrap the Batgirl movie, I think you should have kept that
Yes.
ending
Yeah, I think so too.
because we know that Ben Affleck is not coming back.
Right.
That still leaves the possibility for Wonder Woman to still be because she's not there at the end,
Right.
and then that then gives Sasha Calle a chance
To be
to
Supergirl.
be Supergirl still.
I still took the Aquaman scene as happening in Clooneyverse.
Because he says like in all these other universes I went to,
Yeah.
Batman was different, but you were the same. So that to me says that he went back and saw at least more than one.
So are we then? Because I actually haven't seen an Aquaman movie. So when he calls Tim Curry or Tom Curry or whatever his
Yeah,
fucking name is,
Tamora Morrison.
yeah, is that
Yeah,
who it is? It's Tamara Morrison. Holy shit!
yeah,
When he calls Tamara Morrison, is Tamara Morrison in Aquaman?
yes,
Okay. So then it is implied that in that universe, though, Arthur Curry is a dog. It's
yes,
not.
yeah. The dog's name is Arthur.
So
That's why he makes the joke. He was like, and I was the same. He was like, yeah, you were loyal and furry.
furry. But then that still means though he wasn't like he still technically wasn't the same in every universe. In one universe, he did.
No, in
Yeah,
that universe, he did not exist
yeah,
as a person.
person.
But in the universes where he is born,
Yeah, he's
he
Jason
is
Momoa.
Jason Momoa.
Yeah, yeah.
Which then that also then kind of tanks the rumors that he's playing Lobo
Mm,
because
right.
I don't know, that seems a little weird.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. This whole thing at the end is kind of messy.
Yes.
That's what I mean. Like small things in this movie are great, but a lot of like big picture things, like how this moves on going forward,
Right.
is messy, messy, messy.
I will still choose to just believe that that post credit scene takes place inside Clooneyverse.
That's what I thought at first,
Yeah.
but then when we saw this, when I saw it the second time with you,
Yeah.
I picked up on that where he's like in all these other universes, they're like all of the Bruces are different.
So does that mean he went exploring timelines post?
That's what I'm thinking.
But that would be
Because my assumption is that
disastrous.
he did something, and now like does that mean his dad's back in jail? Does that mean that he then found a way to free his dad through other means?
I'm choosing to interpret it that he would just have seen Aquaman
The
in the
Chrome Dome?
Chromodome,
Maybe.
and then it's always Jason Momoa.
It's so
Yeah.
odd. It's weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I said, this is not going anywhere. This is not making money, that's for sure. It
It's a giant plot device. For it is I said this in the theater, like this like back when there was first like fallout with Henry Cavill and like Ben Affleck. I was like, you don't need to have an explanation for like why people are fucking changing. Like these movies all sucked. Just be like, we're changing these ones, we're not changing these ones. Like
yeah, just get rid of what you want,
push play. And
keep
then,
what you want.
and what this movie does is it does that, but it like does it in a movie. So on the one hand, cool that they did it and they did it relatively well.
Mm.
But then also like when you look at what purpose does this movie serve?
You know what they could have done in this movie to and again, this is not like
Mhm.
if Ezra Miller had shame
Yeah,
and they were like, you know what, I fucked up.
right.
I got to take responsibility. I will bow out. Obviously, I completely understand why. After watching this movie, I 100% understand why they could not recast.
Hmm.
I completely understand why they could not go back and film
Yeah,
this because
He's integral.
He's integral to like the
Right.
Barry Allen
Barry
is
Allen is integral.
in this movie twice,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And Ezra Miller would have to film both of their scenes twice.
Right.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
Like that is a huge endeavor.
Yeah.
I get it, but at the end of the movie, they could have been like, "Oh, hey Barry, how's it going?" And he walks by a mirror, and then he looks in the mirror, and he sees himself as somebody else.
The
The idea of that's how he views himself as Ezra Miller, but then now that he changed stuff,
yeah.
maybe now he looks different.
So I don't know.
It's such a thing that you could do. I don't know.
This almost does make me feel a little bad for Ezra Miller because it feels like you're dragging the bear that like bit somebody in the circus out to do like one last performance because you got a sold out show tonight and you need to please the fans. And then you're just gonna fucking shoot the bear afterwards, right? And regardless of whatever they did, like I'm like that to me does feel dirty about this film. It's like, all right,
A bit.
fulfill your fucking contractual obligations and like get the fuck out,
I
even if you
mean,
deserve it. But
they
like,
did no press for this movie.
yeah,
Everything has been Sasha, and I think even Michael Keaton to a certain extent.
yeah,
But like, I think Ezra showed up for the premiere,
yeah.
and then they put him back in their cage
What a mess,
and said, "All right, thank you,
right?
bye."
What a mess.
What a mess.
Yeah.
Anything else before we go? How would you rank this in the DCEU?
Mm, better than Shazam 2,
Better than Shazam 2 for sure.
worse than Wonder Woman.
Better than Wonder Woman 84.
I didn't get through the whole thing.
I went through
Yeah.
it.
Um, to me, it goes maybe the third best because I really only like Shazam, Wonder Woman. Oh, I forgot the Suicide Squad is technically
Oh yeah, the Suicide Squad is very good.
okay. So Shazam, the Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman. This I haven't seen Aquaman.
I think I would probably put. I like your list.
Yeah,
I think
Snyder Cut is still overrated as fuck
Snyder Cut's over it. It is significantly better than Justice League,
for sure.
but I think for me it's Shazam, Suicide Squad,
Hmm.
Man of Steel, Wonder Woman. This
Mm.
I really do like Man of Steel. I think as far as Henry Cavill getting a chance to do some Superman shit
Yeah.
is very good. I also think Papa Kent is a fucking dumbass, and
I remember,
he
I remember
got
thinking that when
what he
watching the
deserved.
movie. Yeah, I remember thinking that when watching the movie.
Yeah,
Uh,
but that's how it's gonna fall. We'll see how this goes. But this isn't going anywhere. We're gonna have DCU movies for days.
for days.
The next one coming out is Blue Beetle.
I'm actually kind of, but it's DCEU.
It's DCU.
Blue Beetle is DCU,
Yes, it's the first DCU character, according to James Gunn.
but then Aquaman is still DC. Didn't we say earlier in this podcast that like this is not the last DCEU movie technically?
This is not Aquaman is technically DCEU because it's the same character.
I mean, even though it really doesn't have to be.
Yes, I don't know if they'll do something because they
Yeah.
said they had a scene with Ben Affleck.
Yeah,
They had a scene with Henry Cavill, I think.
right.
Those got scrapped. And then I think they had a scene with Michael Keaton's Batman. And then right now it's like, we'll see what we get
In Aquaman?
in Aquaman.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll see. The mess keeps going.
Yes.
And as long as the mess is there, we will be here to watch movies.
We will be.
Thank you guys for listening. Remember to like, share, and comment.
Comments.
And until next time, he is Thano.
He's Javier.
This has been the Cine-Scoots podcast. Bye.
Bye.